Okay, so the other day I thought of that one video of it's a little kitten running through the grass, and then the camera work is all crazy, like it cuts to a bunch of different angles of this kitten running and jumping through the grass and he's all happy. But usually I've seen it paired with memes where it's got like some really nefarious text. It's like how to gaslight and manipulate people or something. It's this little kitten jumping through the grass. You know what I'm talking about? But anyways, I thought of that video the other day, and I thought to myself, I should be more like that cat. Not like the gaslighting part or anything, but just the cat jumping through the grass, having a good time. So, personally, I've never seen a cat wearing AirPods, wearing headphones. But think of the last time you've seen a person wearing them, and you can probably think of a gazillion people, right? It could have been you this morning looking in the mirror with your AirPods and with your headphones on, whatever. So, what I'm trying to get at is, and I want to be very clear, this is not going to be some headphone, AirPod music hate video. To clarify, I love music. I love listening to music. I love listening to things like audiobooks. I love listening to videos. I love listening to certain podcasts, not all podcasts. But I do want to say, and I do think, I believe very strongly that your AirPods and your music and your podcasts and such don't need to go everywhere that you go at all times. And there's sort of two sides of this conversation, this thesis statement that I want to talk about. There's what I'll call a philosophical side or philosophical reason to why I say this, and also a practical reason, which I'll talk about later. And you can probably guess what the practical reason is, but I'll start with the philosophical reasoning. So I think right now, in today's day and age, you get a lot of what I'll call stimulation on demand. So there's a lot of stuff that you can be doing at any given moment that's within arm's reach, right? And I think a lot of this is connected to your phone, for example. So you have your phone in your pocket pretty much at all times, or in your bag, or wherever you keep your phone. And on your phone, you have a plethora of different ways to stimulate yourself, right? Like you have music. So you have, I don't know, Spotify, Apple Music, whatever you prefer to use there. You have things like YouTube, you have TikTok, you have Instagram Reels, you have a bunch of these different platforms for videos too. And then you also, of course, have games and such on your phone. And I'll even say, like, if we're just going to cover all sorts of different stimulation sources here, right? We'll say you also have access to the internet more broadly, so you can consume whatever content it is that you want to consume. That could be like a book or something too, or like some article on a website, or like a news report, that sort of thing. Anyways, my point is you have a lot of stuff right at your fingertips, and it's just really easy, and it's I'll say, like, there's a very low barrier to getting access to that stuff. Again, like, you just pick up your phone and then you have all of it there on your screen and you can do whatever. So I do want to share some personal experiences that kind of got me thinking about this topic and sort of spurred the ideas that came together to create this video. So I noticed, or I guess I've been noticing, in a lot of various settings, as I go about my day-to-day life, I notice there are a lot of people who have their AirPods in, right? I just kind of noticed this in passing. Like, I'm not even necessarily trying to see, like, oh, who's got the little white thing sticking out of their ear, but I just see it a lot. So, for example, at work, like if I'm walking around or walking to lunch or something, pretty much everyone has either some sort of headphone, earbud, or AirPod in, and usually they're like heads down looking at their computer or phone or something. And I get it, it's work. Sometimes you got to take a meeting on the go or something like that. So I understand it there. I just want to kind of enumerate the number of people that I'm seeing in regards to this phenomenon, right? Another thing, or another setting rather, where I see this a lot, and this kind of irritates me a little bit. So you go to like let's say like a cafe or something, right? You go to your Starbucks, local cafe, whatever, and you're waiting in line to order. I see quite a few people ordering, like talking to the cashier or the barista, I mean, and they've got headphones in or AirPods on or something. And I don't know about you, but when I have my headphones on, so I have the AirPods Max and it has like a transparency mode, which is quite nice. But if I'm listening to something, I am not really focusing on the conversations and things going on around me. And frankly, if I'm talking face to face with someone, it is still very difficult for me to feel fully engaged in that conversation, right? And again, I think you could make all sorts of excuses for this behavior, right? Like, maybe this person's, again, on an important phone call and they want to order their coffee too or something like that. But I think more often than not, it's probably just people that are listening to music, listening to something to distract themselves, and they just happen to have them in before they went to like this cafe, and then they just keep them on and keep things playing in their ear as they're having this, short interaction with the barista. And again, I don't feel super strongly about this, but it does irritate me a little bit. Like, if I'm talking to someone and they have their headphones on, even if they're not listening to anything, I get the impression that they are. And it would certainly irritate me being on the receiving end to be in that sort of conversation because it feels a little bit one-sided. Like, this person's not giving you their full undivided attention, right? And I know, like, you can say when you're at Starbucks and you're talking to the barista, you don't need to give them your full undivided attention. Like, it's not like you're having a deep, meaningful conversation with a person. But I think it's like general good courtesy just to at least give that person a little bit of respect and like enough respect to take off your headphones and stuff, right? I think this also applies to being at restaurants. And I remember specifically there's this guy I knew in high school, and this was years ago at this point, but I remember he would always have an AirPod in, like no matter what we were doing. Like, we would be hanging out, or we would be at a restaurant eating, or we'd be, I don't know, doing something outside that like you have no use for an AirPod when you're doing that activity. And he would always have at least one AirPod in. And that got me thinking, like, maybe to some degree you just get used to it. Like, I don't want to call it an addiction, because I don't think anyone's addicted to having AirPods in their ears, but it's like you are so accustomed to it at some point that it's just second nature to you, right? And I kind of have felt it in the past. There's times where, like, I'm not even listening to anything, and I notice that I just have my headphones on, and I'm like, when did I put those on? Like, why do I even have these on? And I just take them off. So I think my main takeaway is you should be very self-aware of when you're consuming content in general, but like more specifically for the purposes of this video, I don't think it's always necessary to have stuff playing in your ears all the time. So I think this ties into some other things, right? Like, obviously I'm talking about the sort of, or I'm opening up with the sort of audio side of things with headphones and stuff, but I think this applies to other things too. Like, for example, eating food without YouTube, right? Like, food with YouTube is a classic. I find myself doing it, although I'm trying to get better at not doing it. But I think it's this category of things where, like, you're doing a certain activity that maybe you perceive as being kind of boring or routine, so you add in some other sort of stimulus to make the activity more entertaining. And again, I'm not saying you need to be at the gym with no headphones, although I've actually been doing that recently because I just go with my friends and we kind of talk, so I don't have my headphones in. But again, like, that's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying you should have periods where you don't do that. So have times where you go on a walk and you just listen to the sounds of nature. Like, there's definitely been times where my headphones die and I'm like, all right, whatever, I gotta raw dog this walk, for lack of a better term here. And those, I feel like, have always been very just pleasant walks that I've been on. Like, was it more pleasant than listening to some nice music? I don't know, but I think it's at least pleasant in like a different way compared to the walks where I have music playing in my ears. So I think, like, for example, going off of the walk again, I think once you once you go on a walk with no music, I think you just become aware of your surroundings. So depending on where you're walking, I like to personally walk by this lake near my apartment. It's really nice. It's very very pretty, especially during the summer when all the the trees are green, the sun's shining and all that, or during a nice sunset or something like that, and you can hear birds chirping, and it's just a lot of like, again, stimulus, but it's like this natural stimulus in a way. It's not music playing through your ears. And again, I was saying, I feel like these walks have been very pleasant. They've been very enjoyable. And then, without music playing in my ears, I'm also aware of my surroundings a bit more. So, I see like a cool bird up in the tree, or there's like a deer somewhere off the path or something, like just some things that I wouldn't have noticed. Or, maybe there's a person walking towards me, and then because I have my headphones off, they wave hi to me, and I wave hi back. If I had headphones on, maybe that person just wouldn't have waved to me, because I think, at least to me, if I see someone with headphones in, I immediately think, okay, I shouldn't disturb this person because they're probably doing something. Well, they are doing something because they're listening to music or listening to something on their headphones, and I don't want to interrupt them. And I think it also just generally just kind of hinders human interactions. And again, like my last video about talking about how to feel more human, I think that's a very, very important aspect, is to have those little passing human interactions, right? Like me personally, I don't really care for small talk. Like, it's not something I'm good at. It's not something I particularly want to do, I'll say. But I do think that having a little bit of small talk and having a positive interaction, even just saying hi to a stranger that I've never seen who just happens to be walking towards me, I feel like it always just lightens the mood a little bit. I don't want to, I feel like I'm walking around, if I'm not interacting with anyone, I just feel like I'm just walking around with purpose or whatever, and I'm just I'm basically giving off the vibe to other people that I don't want to talk to you, you're beneath me. Maybe that's a little bit exaggerated, but you get the direction I'm going in there. So to summarize there, I think my point is just learn to do those things without any external stimulus, and maybe you'll find some new things along the way, or discover new things about yourself, discover things that you appreciate in your surroundings when you do that. So same with eating food with no YouTube, right? This also applies equally. So I don't think every occasion is a food with no YouTube occasion, but think about those really, really good meals that you've had, right? Those really, really good meals where the food is crazy good. It's the best food you had in your life. I don't know if you've been to a Michelin-starred restaurant or something. Me personally, I'm not going to be watching YouTube while eating a Michelin-starred restaurant. I'm not going to be scrolling shorts while eating the best food I've had in my life. That cost me $100 per dish, by the way. So I think that kind of falls into the same thing too. So to share some personal experience again, I talked about how I went to the UK recently, and it was my first solo travel trip. And naturally, as part of a solo travel trip, I ate at a lot of restaurants by myself. And I remember I was in London, and I went to this very nice French restaurant. It was a Michelin-starred French restaurant. And again, I was the only person there. It was just me, all by my lonely. I was seated at a little table. It was supposed to be a table for two, but they just set up one thing of, they had one plate, one set of forks, knives, whatever. It was just me staring off at the empty chair on the other side. And I vividly remember I was because I'm also not used to solo dining. I think I'm still a little bit awkward as a solo diner, which, by the way, I think solo dining is a good experience. It's something that you should try for sure. So I definitely have those tendencies when I'm dining solo to be okay, I don't want to look awkward. Let me just go on my phone or something. But during that meal, I challenged myself to really just not look down at my phone. Obviously I checked my phone a couple times, I texted some people and whatnot, but I really tested myself to not be glued to my phone during that meal. And it was challenging. I cannot lie. It was challenging, but I had a really, really good experience at that restaurant. And I think that experience was elevated by the fact that I wasn't really looking at my phone. So I think in general, solo dining, I don't want to make this a video about solo dining again. Maybe that'll be another video, but I think generally speaking, when you're solo dining, the kitchen staff, the wait staff tend to treat you a little bit better just because they see you're a solo diner. That means you're more focused on the food instead of focused on the person across the table, right? But anyways, I digress. Kind of tangentially to that, I think when they see that you're not on your phone too, they also want to, kind of entertain you in some sort of way. So I remember my waitress, she was a really nice lady. She was trying to strike up a bit of conversation with me, as she came by. And of course, her service was really good. She kept refilling my water, like standard Michelin star restaurant things that you'd be expecting. But like we like chatted a lot, and it was just really good conversation. Like, again, it was kind of that small talk sort of thing, which I'm not a fan of. But again, I'm sitting there eating food. I have nothing else to do, so I might as well just chat with this person who's serving my food. And like I learned a little bit about her. She learned a little bit about me. And then I felt like we just had some really good conversation. And then like halfway through the meal, she brought out like a free dish from the kitchen. She's like, oh, this is like on the kitchen's giving this to you, which I think is like kind of a common occurrence in, more expensive restaurants. But, and I don't know, like, if me being like by myself and not being on my phone contributed directly to the kitchen making me that extra meal. But in my head, I like to think that I was a pleasant diner for them to have that evening, and that's why they gave me extra food. And again, like, I don't know for sure why it happened, but I do think that there's some benefit to being a little bit engaged with your surroundings, whether that be the environment itself or the people that are around you. For example, like the waitress that I had that night. So yeah, that was like an interesting experience that I thought I would share, because again, it's not related to the audio sort of thing, but I think it's still related to the message that I'm trying to share in this video. And then one other thing before this video drags on too long, the other day I went on my walk again, didn't listen to music, I was just listening to the birds chirping. It was great. And then I like sat down. Oh no, this wasn't on my walk. I think I went for this is just yesterday. Why do I not remember this? But I went for a run. Along the lake that I was talking about, and then I sat down on the bench and didn't look at my phone. That was really, really great. I was just I think I took a photo of the sunset or something, but just sat on the bench, chilled there. Again, was like listening to the birds, listening to the bugs around me. Way too many bugs, by the way, but that's not the point. I think if there were fewer bugs, that would have been much more pleasant. But yeah, I was just like sitting on the bench with no phone, just chilling there, and it was just very, very calming. Like I had a pretty tough week at work. I think my whole company's been having a pretty tough week, and so it was just great to sit down, unwind, and just kind of do nothing. And maybe that's the way to... Actually, no, I don't think that's the way to sum up this video. I think you're still doing something, but I think while you're... Maybe the message is more so, while you're doing something, direct all your focus to that thing. So even though I was just sitting on a bench, literally doing nothing but staring out at the lake, I was really directing my full attention to doing that thing. And I think regardless of how mundane or unimportant or routine that task is, I think that you will find yourself noticing new things and just having a bit of a different experience doing that thing. So yeah, that's kind of all that I wanted to say. We're hitting the 20-minute mark, which just so happens to be how long all my videos are. But anyways, that was my thought. So again, yeah, cats don't wear AirPods, so you should also try to not wear them and be more like that cat running through the grass. Super cute clip. I highly recommend you watch it many, many more times. It brings me a lot of joy to watch it. So Yeah, thank you. I'll probably edit that clip in the beginning of the video too. So yeah, that's all I had. Thanks for listening, and see you.